Hey, so everybody, welcome to Crochet. My name is Yarn Over, or Whitney. I go by both, but Yarn Over is very good for today. It is the word that we will probably be saying the most during this crochet session. So basically, crochet is a wonderful fabric craft that uses yarn to make various forms of textile projects. So you can make hats and blankets and little stuffed animals and all sorts of cool stuff. I learned when I was about 8 years old from my Oma, who was just such a talented woman, and she knew how to knit and crochet and cross stitch and sew and quilt and all these cool things. And I kind of stayed pretty stagnant and kind of kept making blankets and hats for a long time. And over the last 2 years, I found a really good community online and kind of really threw myself into more crochet stuff and started learning how to do more stuff. Yeah. Oh, do we need to admit this person? There's a thing at the top of the screen.
I got him.
It's all right. That's Dill's job.
I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Thank you, Dill.
Nope. Dill's the one taking care of those.
Ah, fabulous.
Your job is to teach us how to crochet.
Fabulous.
We'll do the
one
rest
thing
for
I
you.
know how to do. So I have a couple of things here that I'm just going to show you. And then I also have crochet is sometimes like just a learning process like anything else. So you might not be able to do it yet by the end of the session, but you can always rewatch this video. You can rewatch stuff on YouTube, which is a great resource that I use all the time. And if you mess up, it's not a big deal because we'll just do something called frogging, or ribbit, which is ripping our stitches out so we can start over if we need to. And I really enjoy taking apart stitches, and it's really not a bad thing. Starting over is not bad. So some of you might have heard that one of our camp leaders, who isn't here with us this week, had a baby named Maeve. So one of the things that you can make with crochet, baby blanket. We also have some other cool stuff that we can make with crochet. So this is a octopus hat that I had made a while ago. I made 2 of these because the first one did not turn out well at all. And it's taking a long siesta in a drawer until I finish it because I messed it up so bad. And more hats, little bunny hat. So we got a craft that's pretty versatile. You can do a lot of things with it. Yeah. And I make little gloves and sweaters and all sorts of stuff over the years. But the most important thing that we need to remember during the session is that we're probably not going to get it right away, and that is okay. We're going to do lots of stretching and breathing and talking, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do all these stitches together, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to do them again, and everything is going to be okay. We can't break anything in crochet, so that's the good news. I'm going to switch my hook so that we can see it a little bit better. And we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the parts of crochet here. Vocabulary, just like in school. Okay. Awesome. So here we have what you have in your kit. We have a little yarn cake. Your yarn that you are working with comes out of the center of your yarn cake. That way it doesn't get tangled up very easily. If you take things out of the side, the outside of your yarn cake, sometimes they just wind up getting kind of tangled up easier, and I don't enjoy that. So that's how I usually crochet. This little guy that is attached to nothing is called our tail. It just hangs out, doesn't do much. In the end, you wind up sewing it in or crocheting it in. Not a big deal. You don't have to worry about him. This is your crochet hook. Pretty simple. This guy is pretty standard. I think that we're all using an aluminum hook today, which is great. They also come in plastic, wood, acrylic, which like plastic ones. And this is exactly what I started with when I was 8 years old, and they haven't really changed a whole lot. There's 2 different ways that you can go ahead and hold this crochet hook. One way is like a pencil and the other way is like a knife. So if you go ahead and hold it with a pencil hold, which is how I like to hold mine, you hold it very similar to how you would hold a pencil and write.
Just a quick note, campers, crochet hooks don't go in your mouth.
Don't do that. Safety hazard. Also, they get sticky. Gross.
Or noses.
No noses. All right, and then the other way that we can hold that guy, boom, is like a knife, where we would kind of be scooping it up. You can try both ways and follow your heart. Every once in a while I try the knife hook hold and it doesn't really work out that great for me. Next thing I would like everybody to kind of do is put your crochet hook in that loop, hold it tight, and then just pull it up, just so you can kind of get used to that. Because it's kind of fun. Just go up and down. Notice that.
Bridge, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Where's the loop?
Where's the loop? Here, maybe if I go to gallery view, I can see you. Who is saying that?
Bridge. Yarn over. If you could also move your camera just slightly to your left hand. There you go.
Ah, thank you. The loop is probably somewhere in the middle of your project here. So you got that nice kind of little rectangle there. And there will be a little loop coming out of a stitch.
So all campers, why don't you lay your piece of crochet yarn on the table,
Mine right here.
just like yarn overs.
Show me where mine is. Right here.
And we're gonna stay muted unless we're called on.
All right. So that is where your loop is. And if you would like, I think that it's a great idea to go ahead and just pop out a couple stitches, just kind of prove to yourself that you can't break this. So if you go ahead and pull your working yarn, that takes away stitches and just kind of makes them come out. Ta-da! Can't break it. It's just yarn. No stress.
Okay.
And then we can go ahead and use our finger a little bit to get the loop open up a little bit more. Stick our hook back in there so we can feel good about it. And if everybody is kind of to this point here where we can see our crochet hook is in the loop, we have our yarn nice and snug now. And we'll go ahead and do about 5 stitches together, and then we'll do a little stretch.
So everybody, for all of the campers, thumbs up if you have your crochet hook in the loop.
I see 1, 2.
Yes.
If you need just a little bit more help, put your hand on your nose. Put your finger on your nose. If you need more help, put your finger on your nose.
Okay, so I see a Marshmallow needs a little help.
Do I got it?
You do have it. Excellent.
You got it.
All right. So we'll just take a little look at this guy. So if you make your loop really big and you put your hook in there and then you pull the yarn that is attached to your ball, you should be able to go ahead and make that guy nice and snug. And then it should just look like this. So we're going to go ahead and do this a few times, and then we're going to take a little breather right afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and start with our first stitch, which means that we are going to be looking at it from above, and we can kind of see this little line of V's. These are the stitches from your previous rows, and those are the little V's that we're going to be going into to make our new stitches. So you go ahead and you take your crochet hook and you're going to stick it right under both of those little loops that make a V. Boop. So looks like this on your hook now. Give everybody a second to get their crochet hook in there. Thumbs up if you have your crochet hook in there. Got one. We got need a little help, so we'll do that first part again. If you already have it, just leave it how it is. If you are following along with me, because we're still working on it, we're taking our crochet hook and we're putting it right underneath the little V's. So there's basically two little guys that look like this on top. We put it right under there. All right, so the next step is we're going to yarn over, which means that we are just taking our yarn and we're putting it over our hook. The little nose of our hook is facing towards us. And once we have it in there, we're gonna pull it through the hole that we made, which gives us 2 loops. Excellent, I see a little hand.
Bridge, did you have a question?
Which string is that?
The working yarn, the one that's hooked to your ball, your little yarn cake there. Does everybody have 2 loops on their hook now?
I do.
Right on. Everybody give a thumbs up if you have 2 loops on your hook. And
Is everybody here still?
Some people might have dipped out, and that's totally okay.
I am here.
Okay.
Someone needs to mute themselves.
I'm not sure what's happening. I know, I will just talk louder. Anyway, all right. So we have 2 loops on our hook. And now we get to yarn over again, which means that we take that working yarn, we pull it over our hook again, and that guy goes through both those loops that we have on our hook. And that completes your first stitch. I know, that was so many steps to make one stitch, but eventually you become a little bit smoother and they go very, very fast. Bridges, you have a question?
Go ahead, Bridge.
I don't get it. How did you make that that stitch? I don't get it.
That's okay. We're gonna do it a bunch of times together. And then I will share this little story with you. I learned how to knit last year, and I went to a community event, and I had individual attention, and somebody was able to sit down with me, and I totally did not make a single row of knitting the entire time. And then I went home and I tried it again, and I watched some YouTube videos, and eventually I had a really ugly line of knit stuff. And then the next day it looked a little better. And the next day it looked a little better.
Yeah,
but I definitely didn't get it the first time.
The only thing I know how to make is the only thing I know how to do with yarn is knitting.
Well, you are a far better knitter than I am, I assure you. And it's okay, because if you want to keep doing this, you're going to be a really awesome crocheter too. So we're going to go ahead and do this from the beginning again. We're working on a new stitch. Okay, maybe we all need to take a deep breath right now. In through the nose. Hold it for a few seconds. Let it out. Maybe wiggle around our hands. That's always something that's good that happens, right? Release some of that tension. Everything's okay. So we're going to go ahead and start our new stitch here. We're going to go ahead and go into the little V's that were at the very top there. Whoop. And then we're going to take the working yarn, pull it over our crochet hook, take the nose of that guy, pull it right through the hole we just went through. We have 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to go ahead and take the yarn, pull it over our hook one more time. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull it through both loops that were on our hook. And that completes 1 stitch. And then I'm going to do this again 3 more times, so it's okay if we're not right here right now. So, brand new stitch. I'm going to go ahead and take my hook. I'm going to go ahead and put it through the V. I'm going to take the yarn. I'm going to pull it over the top of the hook. And I'm going to pull it through the hole that we had just made. I have 2 loops. I'm going to yarn over the hook again. I have 2 loops on my hook plus my working yarn I just pulled over. And I'm going to pull that guy through both the loops.
Hey, Dill. You remove Willow from co-host, please.
All right, we're going to go ahead and do it again, and then we're going to do a little stretch. All right, so brand new stitch. We're going to go ahead and go through the V. We're going to take the yarn. We're going to pull it over our hook. Pull the working yarn through the hole. We have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to pull the yarn over the hook again. And we're going to pull the working yarn through both those loops. And then, if we get to this point, we can go ahead and make our loop a little bit bigger by just pulling up our hook, setting that guy down. Yep, just set that project down. Give ourselves a little break because we earned it. So, one thing that happens with crochet is it's really frustrating. There's so many steps to make one tiny stitch when you start, and you're like, oh, wow, that's a lot of work for a little tiny guy. But you get faster at it, and then it's really enjoyable and peaceful, and you can listen to audiobooks or watch movies while you're doing it, and it's really fantastic. Or just listening to music, practicing mindfulness, being creative. There's so many outlets for crochet to kind of help you with, which is why I love it. But when you're starting something or learning something new, it's also really frustrating sometimes, and that's okay. We can own that. And it makes our hands really, really tense. One thing that new crocheters do is they get really, really tight, and then your stitches get too tight, and then it's hard to work on your next row because of that. So I like to make sure that I stretch my hands. So if everybody could go ahead and take their hands, we're going to put them together. We're going to cross them over, and we're just going to go ahead and push them out.
What about the rest of us?
This is only for everybody. The rest of you can have tight hands. Just
I see a note from Willow that she did, so she might be willing to share.
Oh, perfect.
Nobody else watch. This is my private lesson.
I'm sorry. Not Willow, Ladybug. I misspoke. Sorry.
Nobody's in the other room.
What about nobody?
She can't watch because it's my private lesson.
All right. So take our fingers again. Take one palm, pull your little fingers back. Feel that nice stretch there. Maybe we'll go around the thumb at the same time. Do it to our other hand. Oh yeah, that's some good stuff.
Ooh, look at Ladybug. She's going to town with her crocheting there.
Yeah, go Ladybug. I like to go ahead and stretch up. Make sure that your shoulders get in there too, because if you crochet for hours at a time and forget that time and space exists, then you tend to get really tight in all of your muscles. Do a couple of these guys, grab your elbow, reach it around to your back, Take your palm, try to reach the center of your spine. Go ahead and do that with your other arm. Feels pretty good. Take a deep breath. Release all of the tension out. It's just crochet. We're not gonna go ahead and break anything. And we might not be able to do it yet, but we will get there. We might not get it today. And when I took that little knitting class, I did not make a single successful anything, but I did later because I stuck with it. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a moment to share with you guys my most recent biggest crochet fail. It's not a fail. It was a learning opportunity. So everybody remembers when we went ahead and popped out a couple stitches at the beginning, and it's called frogging because you rip it out, right? I get to go ahead and take apart all of this because I did not do this correctly. And this was a sweater that I was making, and I did it completely wrong, the whole thing. It's the wrong size, and then I didn't work out the gauge right. So like it has a really short torso and everything else is super wide, and this will never fit me. So, and just the parts don't work right because I didn't do it the way the pattern video said, and I messed up. And that's okay. There's probably about 75 hours in there. I don't know. Like I said, time and space don't exist with crochet sometimes, but I know it was a lot of hours. And I'm gonna take out that whole thing by hand, I'm gonna ball it up, and then I'm gonna do it again. And hopefully I get it right. And if I don't, I'll probably learn something along the way, and that's totally fine. But that was so much work. So making this little tiny swatch, all we're doing is making basically a square. It can be a little blanket for a tiny toy or stuffed animal, or it can be a little pot holder. Whatever you want it to be, use your imagination. But basically we're just learning the craft right now so that we can make bigger things later. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work a couple more stitches together, and then we're going to answer a bunch of questions, hopefully. All right, everybody feeling like they're ready to start some stitches? Put your hands on your nose. Or
totally.
I see a couple.
Looks like Bridge is ready.
Looks like some people are engaged, just working on it anyway. That's okay. Yep. Excellent. Feeling good about this.
Wildflower's ready.
Beautiful. We'll go ahead and continue then. So to add another direction to this to kind of make your lives easier, and you can either follow this right now or not and save it for later because it's an extra step to kind of remember. The way that I like to hold my crochet working yarn in my left hand is I like to put it over my index finger, under my middle finger, and my ring finger, and then over my pinky again. And the reason that I do this is to help my tension. And tension is what kind of makes our yarn either super tight or loose when we're making our stitches. And if we have a medium tension, meaning it's kind of going in there, not super tight, not super loose, just, you know, right in the middle, baby bear, that is what works best, because we don't want our stitches super loose and we don't want them super tight. All right.
Ladybug has a question. What do we do at the edge? How do we start a new row?
That's fabulous. I love that we're already at the end of the row. That makes my heart sing. Well, let's go ahead and do a couple stitches together, and then I will just pull this out and we'll talk about the edge real fast, okay? So I'm going to do 3 of these guys, and then I'll show you what to do to get to our next row, just so that everybody has something to work on. Every person.
And all the rest of the campers.
All the campers. Okay. All right, so we're starting a brand new stitch. So we're going to go ahead and go under the V. We're going to wrap our yarn just over the hook, pull it through the V. We got 2 loops on our hook now. We're going to take the yarn, put it over the hook again, And we're going to pull it through both the loops. And that completes one stitch. New stitch, go underneath that V, take the yarn, pull it over our hook, pull it through the V, take our yarn, put it over the hook, pull it through the 2 loops. That's the end of a stitch. All right, new stitch, go through the V, take the yarn, put it over the hook, pull it through the V, take the yarn, yarn over the hook again, take the working yarn, pull it through both loops. All right, you guys work on that. I'm going to get to the end of this row really fast, and then we will talk about what to do at the end of a row. If you are still working on your stitches and you're not at the end of a row, just keep working on those and ignore me for a moment. You can always watch this part of the video later. Not a big deal. All right, so sometimes the last stitch is kind of hard to identify because it kind of looks a little bit silly at the end of the row. So the last V is there. And once you do it, you won't see anything else left at the end. It should just kind of look like a nice flat line. All right, so if we are to that point, we are going to do something called chaining, which is much easier than making a stitch. And how we do that is we take our working yarn and we go ahead and we yarn over our hook and we just pull it through the 1 loop. That's it. I'm gonna pull mine out now and we're gonna do it again in case you didn't get it the first time, and that's okay. So last stitch, oh, I need to go up to do my next row. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and yarn over my hook and pull it through the loop. I'm gonna do that part one more time. I'm gonna go ahead and, oh look, last stitch I did. Perfect, time to go ahead and level up a row. Take the yarn, yarn over, pull it through the loop. All right, so to get to the next row now that we have chained 1, we take it, we flip it around so that we can be going the other direction. And we go into the very first V and we just start all over again. Ta-da! So I'll go ahead and do that again. So you just go ahead and you take your hook just like you were doing previously and you put it through the very first V that you see that's closest to your hook. We yarn over, pull the yarn through the V, 2 loops, yarn over again, pull through both loops. And now we're doing some more stitches. I'll do 2 more of these guys and we'll take a little breather, I think. Go into the V. Yarn over. Go through the V again. Yarn over one more time. And pull through both loops. Ta-da! One more stitch here. Let's go ahead and go through the V again. Yarn over the hook. Pull through the V. Yarn over. And pull through both loops. Ta-da! All right. If you want to walk away from your crochet project or you need to put it in a bag at any point, I always suggest making your loop really big like we kind of did at the beginning, is pull your loop up. That way nothing winds up coming out while you're away. Cat gets a hold of it. Hopefully they don't rip out your stitches.
Bridge, do you have a question?
It feels like we've been doing this for 5 minutes, but it's actually been 35.
I told you, time and space do not exist in crochet. Which is why it's really important that we stretch it out.
Look at the concentration that Snowy has going.
Ooh, just moving right along. How is everybody feeling?
Peachy keen. How's everyone else doing?
Thumbs up if you guys are feeling pretty good about it. Maybe a medium thumb if we're like, meh.
Peachy.
I see a medium thumb. Excellent. Oh, we got a half medium, half good thumb. Awesome. Well, this is going swimmingly, I think. I'm really proud of everybody. You guys are doing great. That's what I think. And I would go ahead and encourage everybody to go ahead and give your hands a little bit of a break, because I just know what it's like when you're first learning a new yarn craft.
Everyone else should also take a break, a stretch break, not just everybody.
All the humans and all the lambs. Go ahead and just let it go for a second. Wiggle those guys around. Reach them up to the sky. Want to get your shoulders involved in the stretching. I just felt several things crack. Which is how I know it's working. Take those guys, put them behind your neck maybe. Ooh, get the chest out. Ooh. And then just breathe, maybe move your neck around, do some neck circles. A lot of times when you're kind of curled up on the couch or a chair and you're hovered over your crochet and you're a little newer, you can, even if you've been doing it forever actually, you kind of turn into like a little rock and things get stiff. So it's very important that you remember to get up every so often, walk around, make sure your legs still work. Yeah. And also, I'm going to go ahead and take some time to talk about some crochet hacks. So one thing that I like to do when I'm crocheting is I either put my yarn cake, skein of yarn, ball of yarn, whatever you have, you know, and I put it into either something like this, which is actually built for this craft. This is a little yarn Tupperware thing, has a hole at the top, keeps my yarn from rolling all over the floor and getting dog hair in it, or whatever else is on the carpet. It keeps the cats away, so that's super helpful. If you don't have one of these, no big deal, because for about 20 years, I just used whatever mixing bowl, you know, was in my house. And that does like the exact same thing, except for the fact that the cats can get it. But if your yarn is all over the carpet and you have animals, it becomes a whole thing. Then everybody gets to enjoy crochet.
I do.
A lot of cat stuff. Also, I have plenty of times, I have really long hair. I crochet my hair into my projects a lot on accident. So if you have long locks of hair, I always suggest pulling it back in a ponytail or making sure that you're not hovering over it like this, or else you wind up having to pick out hair every once in a while, and it's kind of annoying.
Yarn over.
Oh,
we do have a question, and I just, if you're going to cover it at the end, the question from Dill, how do we start a new yarn project?
Ooh, well, I was actually going to talk about that, yeah, something.
Okay.
Again. But we can also, I think that we have enough time that I can probably get to it today too. So my number one favorite thing is YouTube for basically any craft project, DIY project. I consult the YouTube for everything. And I think it's great for the most part. my favorite gal for learning how to crochet is named Bella Coco, and she's this little British gal on YouTube. So, and the channel is called Crochet for Absolute Beginners, and she does a really wonderful intro for how to start a project and also how to do this stitch and the next level of stitch, which is called a double stitch. So that is what I would suggest, is just going on YouTube. But because everybody seems like they're kind of cruising along, and is there anybody who would like to learn how to start a project right now? Got one? All right, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and do a couple stitches together, and then I'll go ahead and cut this guy off, and we'll go ahead and just start a new project. And if you're not to that point yet, you can always watch this video later and watch that part later. And if you're just cruising along making your stitches, just keep doing that. That's okay too. It's a choose your own adventure moment. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do a couple of these stitches together. I'm on a new stitch right now. I'm gonna take my crochet hook, put it under the V, yarn over, pull it through the V again. I have my 2 loops on my hook. Oh, I just realized I'm not on the right camera. One moment. There we go, sorry. All right, starting over. Going through the V, pulling my yarn over, going back through the V, got my 2 loops on my hook, yarn over the hook again, pull that working yarn through both loops, finish the stitch. Going through the V for a new stitch, pulling the yarn over the hook, going back through the V, got the 2 loops on the hook, yarn over our hook again, and pull it through both loops. One more time, and then I'm going to go ahead and just learn. I'm going to teach us how to do a brand new project. So one more time, going through the V, taking our yarn, pulling it over the hook, going back through the V, yarn over again, go through the 2 loops. All right. So if you are just cruising along with your single stitches, keep doing that. And if you are like, I feel like I have mastered this for the most part, I'm doing okay, I want to get back to that some other point, and I'm ready to go ahead and learn how to do something brand new, we can always watch this later. So when we cut our project and we decide that we are done with it, you give yourself a nice big tail, and then we make our loop kind of big, and we take the working yarn and we pull it through the loop, and then we just tug tight. And that basically makes a knot to stop it from coming out again, which is great. And then boom, I'm going to throw this off to the side so we can learn how to do the foundation for a new project. So this is a little bit difficult if you are not super great at making slip knots, but I think we can do it. So how I like to make my slip knot is I take my 2 fingers, put it down, pull my yarn over them, go like this. So I have a little twisty guy, and then I just pull this yarn up in the middle and kind of hold my working yarn and my tail at the same time, and now I have a slip knot. And again, we're just going to do this kind of fast. You guys can always come back to this part later. It is a more difficult part, which is why I don't teach it. I just want you guys to learn how to do the single stitch, because once you feel confident with that, this is a little bit easier. So once we have a slip knot on there, we just yarn over, and pull it through the loop. And then we yarn over and we pull it through the loop again. And we yarn over and we pull it through the loop again. You're getting the pattern. This is just yarning over and pulling through the loop. It is kind of fun. Or if you're doing a really large project, you're like, after a while, you're like, it's kind of boring. So you just go ahead and do that as long as you need. Your pattern might say to make 20 of these or 30 or whatever, and you just count them up. And then, instead of having a whole lot of little double V's, it kind of looks the same. It has these little bump guys on it. You kind of have to hold it like this so that it's on its side. So the flat part is in between your thumb and your pointer finger there. And then we are just going through the very top of what looks very similar to the V's, but it doesn't have 2 strings. It only has 1 right now. And then you just do your single stitches on that. Yeah, so it just looks a little bit different. Kind of looks like a braid. And you're just going through the very top part of it to make your stitches instead. And I'm not sure if this looks more clear to us. Oop. Pop it through there, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops, just like you have been doing. And you just do that all the way till the end. Very similar to what we have been doing, but we had that extra step of having to make all those chains. Yeah, and I'm just gonna get to the end of this row. How are we feeling? Are people feeling pretty successful? Need a little break maybe? Raise your hand if you need a little break. No, everybody's happy just cruising along. Perfect. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? Right on, I love it. Looks like some of us are pretty engaged, some of us are feeling a little over it, and that's okay.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to get over this because
Anybody have anything they want to share about their week? Something that's not crochet related. Maybe we just need to get our brain away from it for a second. That's good too. Bridge, what's been your favorite part of the week?
My favorite part of the week?
Yeah.
My favorite part of the week was the Jacob's ladder.
Ooh.
The very first day.
That's awesome. And that's something that you can keep forever. I love that. So crafts has been pretty good.
I like
them. My favorite week was when we made the birdhouses.
Ooh. So it sounds like woodworking has been really popular. Everybody got to wield a hammer?
Mine was the beanbag toss.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so recent. And did everybody get to put their beans in the bags?
Now my favorite one is crocheting.
Oh, that makes my heart sing. Oh, love it. Is there any parts that people are struggling with right now?
single thing.
I'm struggling to do single stitches. I do them so rarely at this point.
Yeah, think of it as a throwback, everybody. I thought you made little stuffed animals and stuff. No? What's everybody been working on?
Fingers were kind of in the
Baby
way.
blankets.
Oh, yeah.
Which I use the
biggest, most elaborate stitches possible because it makes a blanket as fast as you can.
I hear you. I use that virus pattern all the time because it grows so quickly.
Yeah, but I might.
Is there anybody who would like me to do a couple more stitches with them, or is everybody feeling like either over it or super confident?
Great.
Some people are feeling great. Right on. How about don't know and snowy over there? It looked like we said something, but I don't know what it was. It looks like they're working hard. Beautiful.
Yeah, Snowy earlier was saying that she knows how to knit, but she doesn't really know how to crochet.
You know, I have such a hard time with knitting.
It seems like most people are one or the other.
I really do feel that, and you know, I don't really understand how my Oma was so talented and everything, but I mean, she had all the wisdom. So someday I'll get there.
Spider says when she sees me knit, it's confusing because I knit like I crochet. Which one do I know?
It's a thing. Yeah, if you know one, then you kind of wind up like throwing like you crochet, or I've heard weird things on my Facebook pages about that. Or just like the way that you hold your crochet or knitting will look like the other one. And I'm just like, okay. Beep. All right, well, I'm just gonna go ahead and for the sake of this video for people watching it in the future, oh my workstation is always a mess. I'm not a very organized crafter. I'm getting tangled here. We're just gonna go ahead and do a couple more just in case somebody's watching in the future and they're like, need a refresh. They just got a drink of water or whatever. Gonna go ahead and go, oops. I'm on my last stitch from my row. I'm gonna go ahead and yarn over and just pull that yarn right through to make one chain. Turn our project around. Go through the V, yarn over our hook, pull it through the V, yarn over again, and pull it through both loops. New stitch, go ahead and go through the V, yarn over the hook, pull it through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. All right, new stitch, go ahead and go through the V, yarn over, pull it through the hole, 2 stitches on our hook, yarn over again, and pull it through both loops. Everybody seems super engaged, and I am pretty impressed. Right on.
Before we finish, if you guys wouldn't mind holding up your projects as far as you've got so far, doesn't matter how they look, I would like to take a picture.
Stuffy Marshmallow made bracelets.
The fun part is that it was already started, so no matter what, it looks like you have something.
That is true.
So I'm going to give just a few seconds while people get close to the camera.
Steve Bone, where's yours?
What? Hold up your project.
There you go. There's Snowy's.
Yeah.
Ladybugs.
Looking so good, everybody. We're all humans.
Dill, look at that.
I was looking at the camera.
Who's taking the picture?
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, I'm gonna take one more. Everyone has theirs up? There we go.
Right on. Beautiful.
How about our applause for Yarn Over?
Ooh, oh, thank you. Thank you, humans. Thank you, campers.
And again,
Right.
if you guys want to watch the YouTube, it'll be available later today. If you have any questions.
Well, later when I get it put together. It might not be today.
All right,
And
we'll
that
just
is totally fine because there's so many things to help us on YouTube. And again, Bella Coco for Crochet for Absolute Beginners is a great resource. Or rewatch this video. We did do a short part of this tutorial for how to start a project that you can watch, or you can just watch it on YouTube. On so many people are doing tutorials on how to start crochet projects. Just make sure that you are asking an adult to help you.
So Dill has one more question. He noticed that some of the rows are getting loose. Is there a way to tighten them?
Yeah, so you might have loose rows because you are either doubling up your stitches into the same hole on accident and just doing double stitches.
That's how you tighten.
Your tension is loose.
And you have to
If
hold.
tension is loose, that is a much easier issue to solve than being too tight. So again, that is kind of just how tight or how loose you feed your yarn into your stitches. And again, I like to keep mine over my index finger, underneath of my pointer finger and ring finger, and over my pinky.
All right, Ross.
Like a little claw. And I hold it like this. And that way, this little pointer finger can go ahead and kind of make the yarn a little bit tighter. And you can just kind of feel this out when you're crocheting, and once you're feeling a little bit more like, oh, I'm feeling more fluid and this is going really smoothly, you can kind of feel how loose your yarn is or how tight your yarn is. And if you are having issues with it still in a few days, go ahead and just look up crochet tutorials on tension, and there will be a lot of resources on there for you. And I kind of hold mine in such a way that my my little claw fingers help feed my yarn in and help it open and close so that I can feed my yarn in a little bit easier.
Ladybug, do you have a question?
Oh yeah, I just wanted you to show how to get to the next line again.
Yeah, no problem. We can do that. And great job getting to the end. That's amazing. Let's do a couple of these real fast. And I'll switch my camera around and we'll do it together. Boop.
And we are at the end of our session. So those of you who aren't ready to learn how to go to the next slide, if you want to stay, that's great. If you have other things to do, that's fine too. We'll see you at 3. Go ahead, Yarn Over. Sorry, Tim.
Oh no, you're perfect. Thank you. All right, so I have 2 more stitches left here, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish those. All right, going into the last V there. Goodbye, all humans that are leaving. All right, so last stitch there. We are at the very edge, and now we're going to do something called chaining. So we're just going to go ahead and take the yarn, pull it over our hook, and pull it through the loop. I'm going to go ahead and do that 2 more times. I'm going to take mine out. So I'm on my last stitch from the row again. I take my yarn over my hook, I pull it through the loop, and that's it. 1 more time. On my last stitch, I take my working yarn, I pull it over my hook, and I pull it through the loop. All right, once that's done, we take our project and we just turn it so it's going the other way, so that we are working in the direction just like we have been. So now it looks like this. Then we're going to go ahead and just go into the very first V. And we're going to do our single stitch again. We're going to go ahead and go through the V. We're going to yarn over, pull the yarn through the V. We have 2 loops on our hook. Yarn over again and pull through both loops. New stitch, go through the V, yarn over, back through the V, yarn over again, and go through both loops. And was that Ladybug who was doing that? Did that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Is there anybody else that's needing help with anything?
Dill wants to know how to finish a project.
Ooh, that is a very good question. So I will go ahead and just pretend that this is imagine that this is a long and luxurious scarf. And I'll just kind of make it nice on the corner here. So if you were at the end of your long, luxurious, humble rectangle scarf, what you would do is make your loop super big. And then take your working yarn, make sure you have a nice big tail, nice and long, and then you would cut it. So now we have working yarn and this really long loop. All we do is put our little fingers through there, take the working yarn, pull it through, and then keep pulling until it's tight. And that is making a little knot so that nothing will come undone now. So now this guy is like this forever, unless I really, really tried to take out the knots, I guess. And then we would go ahead and either, you could cut these off, but then you have like little wily baby hairs kind of hanging off your project. You could also weave these in with a needle, like a little sewing needle, or you can just weave them in and out of the V's to hide your string. I used to weave everything in and out, but now I have a tapestry needle and I do that to hide my ends instead now, because I think it looks a little bit nicer and I think it's much faster than this, but this is what I used to do. And it also looks good. So yeah, I would keep doing that until it's all the way hidden or pretty far hidden. And then if you pull this guy a little bit tight, cut it again. Oh, look at that. That tail that was on there is now all hidden because I wove it in. Boop. Yeah. It's good stuff. Did that answer the question, or should we do it again?
He's typing.
Okay.
Yes, it did.
Okay. Okay. Excellent.
All right. I think we're out of time. We're down to the last couple of people that are just still working at it. So I think it's time to say goodbye.
Bye, all campers. I have thoroughly enjoyed this session. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thanks for being here.
All right, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.